Welcome, guys. It is episode 2, Valley of the Suplex. What is up? I am your host, Niko. I got Chris Patrick over here to my right. How we doing today, Chris, man?
Doing good, Niko. What a weekend it was. I'm excited to talk about it. No Matt tonight. He had prior obligations, but I'm excited to be here and talk some wrestling with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was a crazy week or two. Kind of feels like after we released the podcast, the wrestling world decided to catch fire all over again, which is great for us. We got plenty of things to talk about. But yeah, it's been a fun couple of weeks. I mean, the build leading into one of the biggest pay-per-views that the company has in SummerSlam. That's always fun. You know, we got fireworks on Saturday for sure. I can't wait to talk about that. First of all, I just want to take this moment to officially apologize to Rhea Ripley on behalf of Valley of the Suplex. Mommy, we did not acknowledge you in the proper acknowledgement that you deserved as the main mommy, as the top dog, as El Capitan. We are number one supporters of Rhea Ripley on this podcast. However, man, what a storyline they plugged in. This Dom, Liv, Rhea love triangle where Dom is playing the role of a Trish Stratus in the mid-90s. And, all of a sudden, like, the valet is the male figure, and these two girls are fighting over him. And, man, just when you thought that Dom had made a decision and was crawling back to Rhea Ripley, Mommy, please take me back. I'm sorry. Please take me back. All of a sudden, he hits us with the Dom swerve. Middle of the match, grabs a chair out of Rhea Ripley's hands. I was, even though in my our text conversations, I did call Liv Morgan winning with a Dom swerve. As soon as that chair grab happened, brother, I was questions. I had questions.
Yeah, I think that was the moment that all of us were like, starting to raise an eyebrow, but even the announcers were like, no, he's helping Rhea because if she gets DQ'd, then she doesn't win the title, and so it's not worth it. So it's like, okay, maybe you can give Dom the benefit of the doubt that he's just like watching out for her. But I mean, looking back on it now, I think we all should have known better.
Oh, knowing what we know for sure, man. I mean, I sat there kind of in disbelief, to be honest with you, for a second. Don't know why I was, but I was in disbelief. But the real shock was when they turned and kissed in the middle of the ramp, and the pop that got in Cleveland was crazy. I mean, I've been to a SummerSlam. They are tough to get into for some reason. You get into line for SummerSlam, and then it takes you an additional hour to get into the actual building because there's so many people being flooded down one side of the stadium. So I'm telling you, that arena was nowhere near capacity. And that pop sounded like there might have been 100,000 people in that arena as soon as they kissed. So if that doesn't tell you that WWE has lightning in a bottle with this story, I'm not sure what does. But so far, I think they've done a really good job with Liv's championship run thus far. They've made her into a credible villain. It's not a laughable character. They made. And to be honest, this is why Dom as a valet helps so much. They made Liv a believable opponent to Rhea Ripley, who, if you just look size comparison alone, Rhea looks like she would eat Liv for a breakfast appetizer. So the fact that you make it believable is very well done on WWE's part.
Yeah, and I thought they did a good job of in the beginning of the match, kind of playing that cat and mouse, where kind of showing maybe Liv was a bit apprehensive, not necessarily scared, but not wanting to take this fight head on. And I guess you can kind of label it as strategy, but I think ultimately that kind of playing defense from the very beginning kind of built up the match a little bit better. We might get into it. I thought the whole dislocated shoulder thing was a little bit hokey, and she popped it back in on the table, but it's fine. It's fine. I also wanted to talk about, even with Dom all the way even up till the end, you didn't know if it was intentional or if he was just an idiot. You know, they kind of left that ambiguity, big words. But then obviously the kiss on the ramp was like, okay, yeah, that was complete. Well, and obviously he had already like had his arm around her or whatever. It's like, okay, Dirty Dom back at it again.
Yep. Yeah, man. I did like that. That's kind of been the theme with Dom this whole time, is that she kind of goes, is he just an idiot? Is he just like kind of dumb and
Yeah.
like not making the right moves, or is he like in Liv's corner? And they did a fantastic job with it. So hats off to that match. I do want to take a moment to introduce a micro segment that we are going to introduce here on Valley of the Suplex. This is a first. We are going to have a guest contributor who is going to be my daughter, Taylor. She's going to come in and she's going to give Taylor's takes. She's been watching wrestling for about 3 years now, almost 4. Super passionate. We've taken her to a couple of live events, and I just felt like this was a good platform for her to get her voice out, because sometimes we as adults feel like WWE books for children, and even the children are like, who are you booking this for? Because it's not for me.
My favorite wrestler is Liv Morgan. She's what got me started on wrestling. I love her so much. The moment I saw her, I knew she was going to be my favorite. But she has had some bad rivalries in the past, like Ronda Rousey and Liv Morgan. Because all they did, I feel like, was fight and do matches, but none of them were really a belt title. So I feel like all those matches were meaningless, but I hope she can have some good rivalries in the future.
Right on. I think that's what we're all hoping for. Do you think that the whole storyline with Liv and Rhea is going on too long?
No, I feel like it's going to get really good.
I can't wait to find out. You have anything else for us, Taylor?
No.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on here.
Welcome.
All right, guys. That was Taylor's Takes. Taylor's Takes. Very opinionated young girl. We are excited to hear what she has to say going forward about the wrestling world. We definitely will have her on again for sure. Thank you, Taylor. Appreciate you. All right, let's get back into SummerSlam, man. We were kind of talking about this pre-recording. It really feels like this SummerSlam was one of the better pay-per-views or PLEs that has been booked in a long time. It seemed like every match but one had a championship belt, and we had multiple championships change hands, and obviously we'll talk about those championships changing hands, but just the booking alone, man, was, I thought, unbelievable. And for getting people back into wrestling and keeping your current audience engaged, I think you kind of have to have cards like these. And I don't know, Chris, what do you think? I thought they did a fantastic job with the booking, just period, on it.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Like, I mean, it's hard to have like a top to bottom, like intriguing pay-per-view, but I feel like if there was one that's happened recently, this was it, man. Like every single match had your attention, and there were some where like you didn't, not necessarily know who to root for, but the outcomes, I think it was great. The energy, especially in the stadium, you mentioned even when they weren't even at full capacity yet, you could tell that the crowd was into it and loving every second of it. And I know when I was watching it, man, I was on the edge of my seat, being like, watching the pops and the different things that happen. And there were some parts where, it's not necessarily an eye roll, but like, come on. But
yeah,
for the most part, man, like it lived up to the hype.
Oh, for sure, dude. I think honestly, you had kind of hit on it earlier. The shoulder dislocation from Rhea Ripley, man, that is, and I don't like, that was such a well produced match that didn't need the angle of Rhea Ripley dislocating her shoulder to make a difference in the match. I think the mind games alone and the fact that it was kind of like a, Dominic Mysterio on a pole match, I think that was very much enough to get Liv as a believable opponent. But yeah, there were some moments, and I was thinking about this as I watched this. I went to the SummerSlam at the Titan Stadium, outdoors, Tennessee. middle of summer. WWE has a tendency to put SummerSlam in the Midwest. And they have a tendency to do it in football stadiums that don't have roofs. And the Midwest in the summer is humid, brother. Now, I remember vividly Pat McAfee almost falling off the top rope as he went to do a moonsault in Nashville. And we had a couple of moments like that on this SummerSlam where, like, I mean, Logan Paul and LA Knight had a dud of a leg drop at one point. Nia Jax and Bayley had a couple of very questionable moves. We're definitely going to talk about that later. I wonder, man, is it dumb to put these guys out in the middle of a ring that's 90, it's 90 degrees with 98% humidity off of Lake Erie and expect to get like good wrestling results? I think it's a kind of a misplay here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the short answer is no, it's not smart. It's not a good idea. Like they had the prime hydration station, and you could even tell though after I think like the first 3 matches when they did the wide shot, you could see all the sweat stains in the ring already, where it's like these guys are sweating bullets. And I know the less wrestling initiated want to say, oh, it's not a sport, oh, it's not this, but even though it is scripted, it's still physically demanding, especially when you're climbing ropes, jumping off ropes, running around the ring, grappling with each other. I mean, it takes it out of you. And you could definitely tell there were a few moves where, some guys needed some help, and it wasn't sold as cleanly as I think it would have been had you just put it in a dome. I mean, if you still want to have it in the Midwest, just go play at the Lions Stadium or something, or like Tennessee, like you said. Like, you don't, I mean, I know you want a big stadium where you can have as many people fill in there as possible, but I feel like there's just plenty of options that aren't open air stadiums in August. It was in August. So I don't know. I think that is something that I would hope that the talent is giving feedback on, where it's like, hey, we want to perform our best. We also don't want to injure ourselves slipping off a rope or something. Like, maybe let's reconsider going forward. But then again, you don't know, the behind the scenes stuff, how limited they were based off other events that might have been happening where, and probably how far in advance they schedule these types of events. I mean, but it doesn't take a genius to look at a calendar and say it's going to be hot in August.
Yeah, or location. It doesn't take a genius to look at the map and go, well, the Brown Stadium is literally off of the fucking Lake Erie. Let's put it right there, middle of summer. It'll be fine. Muggy.
Yeah, why not?
Not a problem, But anyways, we'll move on from the conditions at SummerSlam. I always just thought that was interesting because that was like a big shock factor for me when we went to the one in Tennessee. After growing up in the desert, man, 110 is dry, and it's dry. You're not actively sweating, just sitting still. Going to Nashville and experiencing that SummerSlam, I mean, dude, I sweat from the second we stepped in the stadium to the second we walked out of the stadium. So, it's just that one always blew my mind. But knowing that now, I watch the matches and I'm like, oh, he slipped on the top rope. He slipped on the top rope. Like, yeah, just an intriguing angle. But anyways, we will go to match 2 of SummerSlam here. This was kind of one of my favorite matches of the night. And it's interesting. It was, I think, one of the shortest matches of the night, too. The Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn match. I'm a sucker for a big, beefy boy who spears people out of their boots. And boy, does Braun Breaker do that. And does he do it better than, I think, just about anybody right now? Yes. The elevation that this dude gets on his spear makes me feel like you hit the hit stick in like 07 Madden. I mean, dude is literally leaving his feet, leading with his head. Everything your Pee Wee coaches are telling you not to do when you tackle someone, he is doing it. And Sami Zayn is a great dance partner for him because Sami is smaller and Sami kind of looks like the average Joe, even though he's super athletic. Somehow Sami looks like he chugged a 6-pack before getting onto, like he's got dad bod. And then you put like an Adonis like Braun Breaker next to him. It's a great little cat and mouse game that they played. They're booking Braun Breaker, I feel like, to be built in a Brock Lesnar form almost. this unbeatable force. I watched him a lot in NXT. I love him with a belt. I'm very excited to see what he's going to do with this belt going forward. Little sad that Sami Zayn's reign wasn't a little bit longer, especially given what he had given to the WWE faithful in the Bloodline story. There were people that were calling for him to dethrone Roman Reigns 2 years ago around this point. So, I mean, I would have liked this title reign to be a little bit longer, but also, like, when the product is not cooking at the right temperature, the product is not cooking at the right temperature. And I think that's what WWE did. But overall, I thought it was a banger of a match. He shouts out his dad in the old gear, and WWE does the unpredictable thing in putting a belt on the person that the people want a belt on. I was thoroughly pleased with this. I don't know. I have no complaints about this match.
No, that is one thing that I noticed right off the top is like that was a really quick match. It felt like it was really fast. I think it was all of like 5-6 minutes, but it was action, wire to wire. These dudes were going at it, and that last spear by Breaker was just absolutely insane. Like everyone knew it was over, and I think that actually makes it make sense for, like you're saying, setting him up to be a Brock Lesnar type, being that super dominant, unstoppable force where it's like you can't be a smaller guy like Sami Zayn, who is, like you said, an athlete in his own right, but Breaker is just that imposing where when the way he flies around too, because it's not like he's like a big lunk that is, not light on his feet. He can absolutely fly. And that was on full display. So it is a little bit of a bummer to, see Sami Zayn's reign come to an end, but it opens up new opportunities for everyone.
And that's, I think, the cool part, right? Like, if I were booking this in my WWE 2K game, this is how I would have booked it, because it would have meant that now Brock Lesnar, excuse me, Braun Breaker gets to now, like, build this. It's not a main title, right? It's a mid-card title. He now gets to run around on Raws with a mid-card title on his waist and see how it feels inside of these stadiums. I think we're going to get some really cool shit. I would like to just personally see Bronson Reed versus Braun Breaker. Bronson Reed, man, if Braun Breaker can spear Bronson Reed, I'll stand up and throw as much money at WWE as they want for tickets and for flights and for hotels, because it's big beefy men slapping meat, man. You just can't beat big beefy boys. But yeah, shout out to Braun Breaker. Congratulations. Also, yeah, I mean, dude, like it's a textbook tackle. Like, and that's Gunther. This man now holds the World Heavyweight Championship in WWE. So I don't know. Shout out Braun Breaker. He went to Kennesaw State, so there's a college football 25 connection. Bang bang. Love when I can make that. But yeah, I thought it was relatively short, but a really good match for what it was. Man, we talked about this a little bit on the last podcast. If LA Knight does not get a belt sometime soon, we were going to throw a fit. Well, LA Knight got his belt. Came out in the Jordan Game 6 trunks, the Jordan-inspired trunks with the diamond on the side. Gotta love that. They definitely did the 11s custom made for him. The back, it didn't say 45, it said LA. I was eating that up. So sick. He looked absolutely jocked. I mean,
bro, dude is ripped. Look at this man. Holy shit.
Like, absolutely swole. He came out to the ring and I was like, damn, dude, you did like, I don't know what. You were definitely bench pressing before you came out, because you are looking jacked. So good for LA Knight, man. It's about damn time that the dude gets a belt. The fans have been rocking with this guy for a while now. I remember like the WrestleMania in LA, and he just couldn't get a win, and I wasn't sure what we were doing. Even then, he was over. So it's nice that we gave him the championship belt. Logan Paul had a good run, and Logan Paul did a good job in ring. I think he as far as like athletic ability and being a wrestler, the dude does a fantastic job. So kudos to him on a good run. I do love the fact that Logan Paul lost the belt inside Cleveland Brown Stadium while wearing Cleveland Brown gear, because Logan Paul is from Cleveland. It's so fitting. I'm sorry, Cleveland. It's a trash organization.
Man, but it's funny that even MGK couldn't prevent Logan Paul from getting booed in his hometown. Like it didn't even. I mean, I could be wrong, and correct me if I am, but it seemed like the audience there wasn't even divided. Like they were pretty much. I mean, it wasn't like the loudest boos I've ever heard, but it was either indifference or not liking Logan Paul.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of what surprised myself and my wife when we sat down and watched it. Was I think we were all kind of prepared to hear boos at some point, but like it's his hometown, man. Like every time he showed up in Cleveland prior to that, they cheered him. They booed him on Friday Night SmackDown the night before. They booed him in I'm pretty sure it's Paul Brown Stadium, but like it kind of shocked me, to be honest with you. Usually the hometown guy gets the hometown pop. That wasn't the case. Everybody was very, I agree with you, like on one side, and that side happened to be fuck Logan Paul. And I think part of it is that WWE fans don't like the product placement. They don't like the Prime hydration station and his bottle in the middle of the map and him like being kind of just like a face all the time when he's a heel. It was interesting. It was very, very interesting. I did not expect that reaction fully from everybody in attendance, but overall a good match. Like we had mentioned at some point, I think this match kind of became victim of circumstance due to it being like probably 6 o'clock Cleveland time, so maybe the hottest part of the day.
Right.
The sun is just kind of starting to go down. I mean, LA Knight looks drenched in this picture, and that's not because he dunked his hair before he came out. Dude is sweating bullets. So I think this was a match of circumstance a little bit, but overall, I'm excited to see what happens with the title with LA Knight. That's more what I'm excited for than the actual match itself.
Right, and talking about the fan response to it all, you could tell that everyone was kind of on LA Knight's side. Like he was getting the crowd jacked. They were getting into the LA Knight chant and all of that. Really excited. But I honestly thought, like for me, this was one of my favorite matches of the night. I thought there were some really cool moments. It was interesting the way it started where you have this wild tussle outside of the ring. Logan Paul is clearing off the announcer's table like he's going to do something. I really thought he was going to steal it when MGK slipped him the knucks. And even that, I don't know if that was like, I don't know if it was the way they filmed it or the way that they executed the move, but as he's getting lifted up, I guess he punches him in the head, but you don't really see it in the shot. And then he drops the knucks and I was like, oh, well, that's how he's going to win, but he didn't. The other cool thing that I liked in this match was Logan Paul. I think it was like a moonsault or something he did off the top rope. I thought that was absolutely insane, especially like what we're talking about, how sweaty and slippery and hot it is. I was like, that was a little risky. And I can't remember if it was in this match or the one before it was Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker, but there was like a suplex done or something off the top rope where dude almost got dropped on his head. And I was like, oh, that could have, I think it was this match with Logan Paul. I think that could have been real bad.
Yeah, it's funny you brought up MGK because as I'm sitting here seeing the Cleveland logo come across the screen, right, I'm waiting for MGK to make an appearance. We got Jelly Roll, like MGK is Mr. Cleveland, everything Cleveland. So when Logan Paul came out, and I had that recollection of like, oh shit, Logan Paul's from Cleveland, and then you saw just this one security guard that was maybe 40 pounds soaking wet with a black hoodie on. And you were like, I wonder who that 6 foot skinny dude is. And he turns around and it's MGK. And you go, okay, well, I'm glad that at least MGK got in on this. But I do think the Knuckles situation is very interesting because when they had Logan Paul go for the WWE Championship against Roman Reigns, their whole storyline was that Roman was going to be susceptible to the metal inside Logan's hand. Logan has a steel plate in his fist. And if Roman gets caught with that steel-plated fist, it's over. What happened? Because now all of a sudden he needs brass knuckles in every fight to win. Brother, if you got an adamantium fist like Wolverine, you don't need brass knucks to do the job. Just a point I'm pointing out in writing creative, that's a loophole. That's an issue for me.
Yeah, I feel like you either got to go for it or not. And they even mentioned it like during this match with LA Knight, where it's like, oh, watch out for the right. He, if that metal plate catches you, you're done. And he did get one solid punch in, but I mean, so I think that those are some things where it's like the inconsistency kind of makes you tilt your head a little bit, because between the metal plate being so good and the brass knuckles, in all logic, you'd think LA Knight would be done, but apparently his skull is made of titanium or something, so it didn't affect him.
Yeah, it's very. That's the one thing. It's a rare slip up by the Triple H like camp. That we used to poke holes in that with Vince all the time, right? I can't believe that Vince, like, all of a sudden Rikishi's the guy that killed so and so in the limo. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was so many holes in Vince's storylines where you were like, man, somebody had some of that funny money and just decided to mess around with creative all of a sudden. So yeah, little interesting. I would like them to address that, but all in all, good match. I'm definitely excited to see where this championship run takes LA Knight, because I think him and Braun Breaker both could put themselves into like real big title contenders with a good mid card run. So going off of that, and man, Chris, I don't know, dude. Did we jinx it? Did we bring up Nia Jax and how terrible she was because we fucking knew?
I think so. I think we did. We really went in on Nia Jax, and justified. But so coming off what might have been one of my favorite matches of the night, this might have been my least favorite, to be honest.
Yeah, it was the first time in the pay-per-view where I looked at the clock and was like, how much longer? Because like, I don't like this. So it wasn't good. Nia's not an entertaining performer. Bayley's work as champion has not been great, not what we wanted, yada, yada, yada. There's, I don't know, man. Don't give it to Nia. Give it to somebody that we can not even get behind, but like buy into. Nia gets booed, not because she's a good heel, but because nobody legitimately likes her as a wrestler. And I know that sucks to say, but like, man, I've wanted to, and I've given her the benefit of the doubt so many times, but like, she doesn't put on entertaining matches, and that match was a snooze fest, and it sucks that that's how Bayley had to lose her championship. And I get it. I do get it. You got to give it to somebody who, because they're going to build this story now, I'm assuming, between her and Tiffany Stratton. And, if anything, that was maybe the time to do the Tiffy briefcase, because it would have injected a pulse into that match. Whereas, like, for me, it just wasn't it, dude. Nia's finisher isn't great. It's not like, it's just not, I don't know. I can't buy into what Nia's selling me.
Yeah, and it seems like she's even a little bit limited in like her bag, if you will, where a lot of her moves I think feel a little clunky at times. And I totally agree. Like, I even wrote that down in my notes here. Just not a good heel, and not for the right reasons either. Just an unlikable person, and not because they're so good or they're so dominant or they're this or they're that. It's just nobody likes her. And I honestly don't think anybody wanted this matchup, and definitely didn't want her to win. So that's a head scratcher.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's about as much time as we're going to spend on this. Is I think that's about as much time as that match really deserves. Really sucks, because we've come so far in women's wrestling, and then to put on the barn burner that was Rhea and Liv, only to put on the flop shot that was Nia and Bayley, an hour later. It's kind of sucks, man. You never want the women's match to be your pee break matches. That's what they have been traditionally throughout the history of wrestling. We should be moving past that, I think, especially with as much talent as we have in the women's division. So, yeah, we'll go on. Man, this takes me to CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. This match was entertaining. It was fun. Seth Rollins was fucking unbelievable as a special guest referee. And man, did it invoke emotion out of me, actually. Like, actually watching this, pissed off at Drew McIntyre. Like, super, just like honestly, I had a couple of like "fuck you, Drew" moments where it was like he's doing such a good job at playing a heel and pulling the like 10-year-old kid out of me that's like, I don't like you because you're a bully and you touched his friendship bracelet and that's not okay. You know, like
Yeah.
he's doing such a good job of pulling that heel card that I thought the match was a barn burner. I really, really, really thought Seth Rollins kind of made that match. And no CM Punk slander here, but man, did we kind of see CM Punk look old for a second? Because there were some shots that I was watching that looked like CM Punk kind of looked old. I don't think we're at the end of CM Punk's career. I think that we definitely still have some money to be made in the Punk camp, but there were some sights of kind of what we were seeing with Edge at the end of his WWE career before he went to AEW. His spear was a little bit lower. It wasn't as fast. You know, CM Punk's go to sleep is still as special as it ever was. But, man, you got to sell me on him being a striker, and he wasn't doing it. And Punk's really won me over, dude. I was really anti-Punk living in Chicago during the AEW run. I saw him at Brawl Out. I thought I didn't like him, and he's really won me over. This match was really well done. Everything down to the friendship bracelet that has, you know, AJ Lee's name on it and Frank, his dog. I think that they just did a really good job of executing the fine points, even to the fact that Monday Night Raw, Drew shows up, and what's he do but kisses the bracelet that he stole off of CM Punk as he's walking in the ring, man. Yeah, it's long-term storytelling, and we're far from done with it, which excites me because we're going to get some sort of three-way match here between Punk and McIntyre and Rollins, I'm assuming, and I'm gonna eat that up. That's gonna be a great match.
And that's so funny to contrast that with the match that we were subject to right before that, where you have a very unlikable heel nobody cares about, and then Drew McIntyre comes out and people are getting emotional about it. I will just say with the CM Punk thing, I mean, he's definitely not the guy we remember from 10, 15 years ago. And that's bound to happen. I mean, I know personally, I still look at those guys through that lens of like, oh, they could still do it like they used to. But, you know, sometimes they just can't. And that's okay. I hope he makes the adjustments because I think he's, like you said, I think he still has a lot of miles in him and a lot more room to entertain us.
Yeah, and I think part of it is that might have been the first time we've seen CM Punk in 2 years. I mean, we saw him at the Royal Rumble, but like for what? For 45 seconds, only for him to tear the tricep that he tore in AEW. So, like, you know, that was the first good look we've really got at CM Punk since Brawl Out when he faced Moxley and then got into the fight with the EVPs backstage and all that drama ensued. But, yeah, no, I thought that was – and you hit it on the head, Chris. The Drew McIntyre is doing the heel the right way, right? Where you're mad at the character. You're not mad at the person for being a shit wrestler.
Right.
But, man, great match. I just got to shout out Seth's ring gear, the glitter pants, the lace referee stripe, the lace black referee stripe with the bedazzling going down it, right in the Seth freaking Rollins character. It was awesome to see. Yeah, I mean, this takes us kind of down the line to Priest and Gunther, which honestly, shit, at this point, match of the night by my cards. I mean, I thought Priest and Gunther did a great job. I do agree that sometimes a Gunther match is so brutal and so heavy that like it almost can become hard to watch. And not in like a bad way, but man, when this dude smacks somebody so hard that his chest bleeds. Well, okay, it was the other way around. Priest smacked Gunther so hard that his chest bled. And they did a good job of, because this is the first time usually it's Gunther putting that impact on somebody. So to see Gunther grab his chest and see his own blood and then like almost like a Ben Stiller and dodgeball moment, like nobody makes me bleed my own blood. And then, I mean, unleashes hell on Damian Priest. I was not expecting what happens next. You know, we got these guys in the ring. Damian is getting beat by Gunther pretty handily at one point, and you just hear a smack on the ring, smack, 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 and the camera kind of pans out, and it's Finn Balor, and you're like, oh, Judgment Day comes to say Judgment Day. That's not what happened. That is not what happened. Finn Balor fucked Damian Priest out of a belt, and then Damian Priest had a really funny come back to life moment in the middle of like an anaconda like chokehold where he looked like he was, trying to summon something out of Finn Balor. But there was a moment where Finn Balor turns to the camera and kind of gives you Demon Finn Balor. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you turn on Raw on Monday night, and what does the first thing that happens is Finn Balor sitting on the Jumbotron showing a picture from SummerSlam 2023 about how Damian Priest screwed Balor out of the title by bringing down the briefcase, and Balor's been plotting this for a year. Finn Balor has been plotting the demise of Judgment Day for over a year. Picked his point, and man, did he execute. It was a great match, well scripted. I'm a big sucker for a swerve, bro. I don't know. I love when we come out and we get a real nasty heel turn you weren't expecting, but that's just me. I love a swerve personally.
Yeah, and you got to appreciate the long setup and the long game of it that led up to that point. And we even saw some drama with the Judgment Day earlier in the pay-per-view on the heels of that Liv Morgan Rhea Ripley match, where it's just like the intrigue that connects it all together and intertwines it that really makes you be like, wow, that's some good writing. That's a good story there. And again, this is another one where I think it sets up, into a bigger picture that's really going to be able to be played out over a long period of time. This match was exciting. Interesting finish, had some interesting points that you mentioned, but man, a couple powerhouses going at it. This is really, really what you love to see. This could have been the main event, probably.
Yeah, I think it definitely could have. I think, it did. It had everything you want in a wrestling match, man. It had big smacks. It had nice maneuvers. Gunther got on the top rope, which he doesn't do often. And going back to that humidity thing we were talking about, I was like, please don't let this 6'4" German man like fall off the top rope. But yeah, no, they tore the house down, which we kind of knew they were going to do. The more unexpected part was Finn, and I think that's just the icing on the cupcake at that point. So yeah, hats off to those guys. That's going to take us into our main event. Like you said, Chris, that could have very easily been the main event. Had we had ended our night with that match, I would have been fine. Cody versus Solo Sikoa. Man, it's very funny. My wife made a very good point. Usually when we're watching these matches, championship, like world championship matches, it's normally Roman Reigns, and it's normally Roman Reigns taking 20 minutes to get down to the stage because he's slow walking and mean mugging everybody, letting everybody acknowledge him. This time it's Cody. Cody took his sweet time getting to the ring. He came out with that super sick custom mask that's got the skull on it with the wings. He took his time saying hi to everybody on the ramp. Obviously, as fans, that's what we love to see. Interaction at a wrestling show is unlike anything else on this planet. I mean, you can get a ball signed from a baseball player. You can get your basketball signed. Having someone that's basically a fictional character and kind of a superhero, like come up to you, shake your hand, hug you. Alyssa and I got scissored at an AEW show by the Acclaimed. That was super sick. Like, those moments like stick with you as a wrestling fan. And especially when you see those like younger kids. So like seeing Cody like go and like high five all the kids, and not just the kids, but high five the middle-aged dudes that still think they're kids. It makes it for everybody, man. So like, I'm cool with Cody taking his time to get to the ring. That's totally fine. I know that bothers some people, and I did see some of that rhetoric on Twitter where it's like, just get to the ring already. No, dude, this guy's worked so hard to wear this belt. If he wants to take an extra, 3 minutes to get to the ring, who am I? He's the main event,
Right. Let them live in the moment. Like you said, they're only there because of the fans. And it's the main event. After this, you got nothing left. So you might as well soak it all in and enjoy it. I get a lot of these folks online. They just want to get to the action. All they care about is the action. They don't necessarily care about the pomp and circumstance. But I think that was part of like the buildup and the anticipation leading up to the actual match itself. That it's special. I had no problem with it.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I don't know. I always think it's funny because, yeah, you said it, man. This is the main event. Like, what are you in a rush to get to? Like, what happens after this? You go home and it's over. So you might as well extend this as long as you can. But, dude, this was a great match. It was kind of what I thought it was going to be, if I'm being honest with you. It was a lot of, we're going to wrestle, and then Bloodline 2.0 is going to come in and interfere. And then, I mean, dude, it was almost like we wrote the script. If you listen back to the episode, we said at one point, you're going to hear KO's music. Well, who comes down? KO comes down. Another point, you're going to hear Randy Orton's music. I sang it for you last time. I'm not going to sing it for you this time. The Viper makes his way down. And then you're sitting there, and like Matt had mentioned last time, you got to bring another because Jacob Fatu's coming. Jacob Fatu has an amazing spot. Does get injured on that spot through the table, which is super sad because he's been on fire and he's super fun to watch. And if there was anybody I'd want to see take on Cody out of that little Bloodline 2.0, it would have been Jacob Fatu. But anyways, they kind of hit a low point in the match. Solo has Cody where he wants him. And then what happens? Roman Reigns' new music hits. And I don't know, it was a bit startling for me just because it's not Roman Reigns' old music. It was like a bunch of thump, 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 and then all of a sudden the music hit. And you can see the people in the back acknowledging their tribal chief, man, all along that railing there. If you guys are going to buy your tickets here, y'all better participate with the show. You better put your fingers up. You better engage. You better know your role as an audience. I am pumped for Roman Reigns to be back. I listened to Eric Bischoff talk about it on a reel today that if they bring Roman Reigns back at SummerSlam, it's too early. Sir, you ran 2 promotions into the ground. Shut up.
Yeah, honestly, nobody cares about your opinion.
Yeah, like you're telling me bringing back quite arguably the greatest wrestler of all time, coined by John Cena, mind you, who we all call the greatest wrestler of all time. John Cena's GOAT is Roman Reigns, man. So, like, if he's telling us it's Roman Reigns, it might be Roman Reigns. But telling me that it's too early for Roman to appear at SummerSlam, no, man. The pop was electric. We kind of talked about this last time. We haven't been able to really cheer for Roman. He's been a heel, man. You kind of, like I said, you got to play your role as the audience a little bit sometimes. Sometimes you boo your tribal chief because that's what you're supposed to do. This wasn't that, man. He came out and, boy, did they let him hear it. They were cheering, screaming, came out. The interaction was odd, Chris. I will say that. The interaction, usually when you have a dude coming back, there's some sort of acknowledgement to like Cody in this situation. Like, they obviously haven't put anything behind them. Roman can't be happy that Cody has his belt. But for Roman to just pretend like Cody wasn't there, run in, Superman punch immediately, and then turn around and spear Solo immediately, and then walk out of the ring. Interesting. It's an interesting move. I know that what they're trying to do is set up Bloodline versus Bloodline, which is, I think, what we're going to get to a Survivor Series, which would be super cool. Bloodline Civil War, I am here for. But I think, yeah, man, I think it was odd that we didn't have that. Like, let him and Cody shake hands in the ring. Give us as wrestling fans that satisfaction of knowing that is tied up at least. Or if it's open, let us know that it's open. Don't just ignore it, you know? So,
I know, I agree. I think that was a missed opportunity for them to start, tie it up or start something new. I think it is similar, like with the Judgment Day, kind of the internal strife and the the back and forth. Just going back to what you were saying, though, about how we kind of predicted what was going to happen. I think a lot of that was just because of this being a bloodline rules match, no disqualification. You knew things were going to get crazy. And I mean, whether we predicted it or not, it's a hell of a match, man.
Oh, it was unbelievable, dude. I mean, you couldn't predict how well it went over. That's what I'll say. I mean, we knew that if they brought Roman back, it was going to be awesome. But even sitting there going, when's Roman coming out? When's Roman coming out? Roman came out, and I popped, man. I was in the middle of my kitchen going, holy shit. You know, like it was awesome. And it's what WWE does the best, man. When you think about, I mean, I read a meme the other day that said, what if NBA free agency was like the WWE? And instead of getting this big announcement, LeBron James signed a 4-year deal, $33 million with the LA Lakers. What if LeBron just showed up in Milwaukee with a Bucks uniform on at the beginning of the season and nobody knew it? The pops that you would get inside that arena are crazy. So that's the cool thing about wrestling, is that you get those moments where you get so consumed with the current product, you kind of forget about Roman Reigns. So when he comes back, you might have hated Roman Reigns, but I guarantee you cheered him when he popped in Cleveland.
Oh, and they set it up so well to where it's like you can't help but root for him. And I think it kind of also ties into the fact that the roster is so deep now, where they can kind of backburner guys for a while and then reintroduce them in a new light, and you just accept it right away rather than being like, I still don't like that guy very much.
Yeah, man, that is the blessing that we have right now with this roster, is that it is so damn stacked that you can literally pull somebody up and make them front facing and then, you know, push them to the back burner. But I don't know. I'd like to talk about, I mean, look, SummerSlam, all in all, dude, I think 10 out of 10. It's for me, the one dud was Bayley and Nia Jax. You cannot have a card that's going to be a perfect card, right? I mean, I know I said 10 out of 10, but like, you're not going to – it's just unrealistic to have every single match be everybody's cup of tea and everybody's yes, please. Somebody out there liked Nia Jax and Bayley. It wasn't us, but somebody there liked it. I thought they did a fantastic job.
Well, and maybe they knew that right there in the middle of the pay-per-view, we'd need a chance to use the restroom, get another slice of pizza, you know, whatever you got to do. You got a solid 15 minutes, 20 minutes where you can go and take care of that. Obviously, I know that's not the case, but one match shy of being a perfect pay-per-view, but still all time, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, I had a conversation with my wife the other day, or after we watched it, is that the best pay-per-view that's not a WrestleMania that Triple H has put out? And I think far and away for me, yeah, 1,000%. Just with the fact that there were so many belts on the line. They didn't even have to change hands, but the fact that there were so many belts on the line, you made them feel important. That's what we want as wrestling fans, at least for me. So I'd say all in all, fantastic job by WWE. Great. It's always a fun weekend. SummerSlam is a party. If y'all have not had a chance to experience a SummerSlam, I strongly, strongly suggest it. I look back on it as like literally one of the greatest live moments of my life. Like, I have this picture up above me of me and the wife here. That is at SummerSlam in Nashville. It was amazing, man. Great experience. So if y'all ever get the chance to check out a SummerSlam, definitely check it out. Also, SummerSlam next year going to be 2 nights. So Minneapolis, 2 nights, I believe, is what's happening for SummerSlam next year. Talk about a dome stadium. We'll see that. Also, talk about a state-of-the-art stadium. That would be pretty cool to see WWE in that Viking stadium, I believe, for the first time ever. So, fantastic job. That's a wrap on our pay-per-view. Like we said, man, nothing really too much to hum-ho about. But on the heels of SummerSlam, we have a kind of an interesting announcement from WWE, which I really wasn't privy to until about, I don't know, two hours ago or so. WWE is making their first real event in Germany. We're going to do a bash in Berlin. It is super exciting. I know for me, this hits a little close to home. Like I bash the German fans are nuts. First of all, they're crazy. They love their wrestling. They love their soccer. Any event that you can tell a German to go drink and then yell at somebody, they're all into it. So super pumped for this. It's going to be cool to see Gunther because Gunther is, I believe, by birth Austrian, but Ludwig Kaiser, who is in his stable, born in Cologne, Germany. That whole area is very familiar with what Gunther has been doing. So it'd be cool to see him on a stage in front of everybody in kind of his hometown. They'll probably do what they did with Drew McIntyre the first time they had Clash at the Castle, is that they'll pitch this as this is Gunther's hometown. It's not Gunther's hometown. Don't let them think that Berlin is not where Gunther's from, but that's how we're going to pitch it, and that's fine. But yeah, man, Bash at Berlin, that's going to be exciting. Not a huge fan of pay-per-views like overseas right now, personally, as an American viewer, because it makes it hard to watch. It also makes it hard to keep things safe, right? So, like, if I'm not trying to spoil it, but I open my Instagram and I got 37s and the new champion posts, I'm going to eventually have my entire pay-per-view spoiled. And that's the one downfall as an American fan. However, I understand. We're pushing the brand. We're expanding. International is always good. It's always good. It's good for the brand. That's what we want. I don't know, man. It's good to see. It's good to see a lot of international pay-per-views.
Right. No, I think it's great. It just shows you the worldwide appeal of professional wrestling right now, especially when you have wrestlers coming from all over the world. I mean, that's been a thing for forever, but in the internet age now and the access to information, it is almost like a blessing and a curse with social media, because it's great that the interaction that they can have with each other to have more in-depth storylines aside from their once or twice a week and the pay-per-views, to be able to follow along, and also to be able to so much more easily chat with fellow fans. I remember there were forums and websites and stuff where you could argue and get spoilers and leaks before. But when I was watching when I was younger, I mean, it was probably partially because I wasn't in those parts of the internet as a kid, but also because like Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, that wasn't a thing. And now it is, like I say, it is a blessing because you can do all that, but it is a curse because when you have events like this, like you're saying, you open up your feed and it's exactly what happens. So you almost have to try and go like cold turkey and maybe stay off your phone for a day and plan it out. I think it's really cool though. And we're getting 2 pay-per-views in a month. Going to be very, very interested to see what this card looks like when they put it all together, because it's going to happen pretty quick. In the next 3-4 weeks, we're going to know what we're looking at here. And I think already announced so far is Gunther versus Randy Orton for the World Heavyweight Championship. So that's already intriguing in and of itself.
Yeah, man. I love Randy Orton so much. I feel like we did this already with Damian Priest, maybe. I feel like Randy Orton was Damian Priest's first challenger, but I want to believe that Randy's going to take this belt. I can't believe that Randy's going to take this belt if it's Gunther's first challenger. I understand that we got to sell tickets in Berlin here, but I would have liked to see somebody else, maybe a Bronson Reed, maybe somebody with some international clout that can pull viewers over there as well. It's still a tempting match. I do love Randy, and I want Randy. This is the thing, is that selfishly, I just want Randy to get that 15th World Championship and then eventually get 16 and tie Ric Flair and John Cena. But I don't know, man. The pay-per-view build is going to be quick, and that's going to be – we've seen in the past when the pay-per-view build is quick, sometimes you don't get the best card. Also, I do think that we take a little bit of a flyer on some of these international shows with who we put in there. So it'll be interesting to see. But, yeah, man, it's crazy couple of weeks in wrestling here. No need to really talk AEW this podcast. NXT is killing it as usual. Just shout out to NXT. at this point, I do think they're gaining enough steam to do like bigger arena shows more frequently. You got Ethan Page, I saw today, was having security hand out his autograph pictures because he was too good to do so. Which, what a heel move, man. I love it so much. But yeah, no, this was all in all fucking sweet, man. A really good pay-per-view. I'm really happy with the fallouts that we've had from it. Everything that we saw on Monday Night Raw looked good too. Shit, can't really complain too much. So it's a nice spot to be in as a WWE fan, because this podcast 3 years ago would have been us screaming at clouds, wondering why Vince was doing this and that and this and that. But it's just about going to put a little bow on things. I do need to grab one thing here really quick.
Yeah, while he does that, I'll just quickly mention the fact that we had initially slated this to be a once-a-month podcast on the Valley of the Sports Plug Network. But I texted these guys over the weekend while we were kind of keeping tabs on SummerSlam and leading up to it, and was like, guys, there's no way that we can only do this once a month. We're going to have to do this at least every 2 weeks. So make sure you like and subscribe at Valley Sports Plug on YouTube, AZ_VSP on all the social medias. And we'll keep you up to date. We'll keep bringing you a Valley of the Suplex every 2 weeks. But Niko, what you got, man?
Yeah, super excited to do this more often, by the way. This is going to be super fun. The wrestling world does move too fast for us to do this once a month. So we got figure of the episode as usual. This is going to be kind of quick, light, easy. We got Sir Patrick McAfee in WWE character form.
Let's go.
Yes, this is, for those of you who don't know, I'm a massive McAfee fan. Pat's actually how I got back into wrestling, if I'm being honest. I was watching the Pat McAfee show. He was doing an NXT run. Didn't really, was like, oh, Pat's doing wrestling. I might watch NXT, whatever NXT is. I didn't even know what NXT was at that point. Turn on NXT, watch Pat in NXT. Amazing. I thought he was so sick. He was perfect in the ring. He's a perfect personality for that. The fandom obviously accelerated. We went to SummerSlam purely because I knew that was going to be one of the few times I'd be able to see Pat McAfee wrestle. So we got to knock that off. Above my head here is an actual piece of the SummerSlam mat that Pat wrestled on. It is number 3 of 250. So as soon as that bad boy hit WWE.com, your boy was on top of it. I can't even say that. It was my wife. She bought it as a Christmas present. I can't even say it.
That is sick, though.
But yeah, no, I'm a little bit of a Pat McAfee fan. So shout out Pat and the boys. I know their DLC pack just came out on 2K. WWE 2K24, you can now wrestle as Pat McAfee, Darius Butler, AJ Hawk, Boston Connor, or Ty Schmidt. It is amazing. WWE fans hate it, man. They hate it because they look at it and they go, that could have been my British Bulldog, or that could have been my, but
I hate to be the one to say this, but boo-hoo.
Exactly.
Yeah. Man, what Pat McAfee has done in bringing wrestling back into the mainstream is, it can't be understated or overstated or whatever the saying is. Man, you've now seen wrestling highlights on SportsCenter. Like, when would that have ever happened? It's guys like Pat McAfee. Give Logan Paul a little bit of a bone, but obviously John Cena and his impact now moving into the mainstream culture. But you got to have Pat McAfee in that conversation, and his commentary is great. He's got his hand in a little bit of everything, where he can pull different people from different audiences, whether it's College Game Day, his podcast, his appearances here. He does a little bit of everything, and you can see his passion, and he actually knows what he's talking about. I love Pat McAfee, man. That's a great figure.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites. It's also one of like the oddballs. I'm a big oddball figure guy. Like, I like the ones that's like, WWE made a Johnny Knoxville action figure. Did you know that? Like, oh, that's sick. So like, definitely as soon as I saw Pat in store, we snapped up and bought it, because we tried to get them when they dropped, man, and they sold out because the McAfee Mafia is insane. So like, the fact that I got my hands on one, super pumped. Actually, in this match that they modeled him after, he's actually wearing Jey Uso's chain, because Pat's chain broke. so he had to borrow Jey Uso's chain. So yeah, I just little nerd out moment, little fun times. But I do agree with you. For what Pat's done for the wrestling world, go fuck yourself, all of you guys that don't think that he deserves to be in that game, and all of his friends for that matter. Because honestly, he's done so much. The reason I am back into wrestling is because that dude decided to randomly do an NXT. So thanks, Pat. Appreciate you. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap up everything for today. Super special episode of Valley of the Suplex. We appreciate you guys being here with us. Like always, it's our pleasure. Anytime we get to sit here in front of these cameras with these goofy figurines behind us and just talk wrestling, it's awesome. I really want to thank Taylor for her first Taylor's Take segment. That was amazing. We appreciate you very much. I want to thank my beautiful wife for setting up the background. She does a knockout job with it every single time. Yeah, Chris, man, anything you got to say to the people real quick before I tie us up?
Not too much, man. I'm just really excited for the future of everything we're doing here and what's happening in pro wrestling right now. Like we've said it a ton. This is an exciting time. I'm glad to be getting back into it with my full force, to where being able to talk about it, have other people that are interested in it as well. Because you know how it is. Like, you hang out with a lot of guys who they're big into football and basketball, but wrestling is not everybody's cup of tea, and I get it. So to be able to have a community where we can grow together and have people to chat and have guests on, whether it's Taylor, whoever else ends up coming on in the future, absolutely love it, man. So thank you for having me, Niko. Thank you for being a spectacular host. Can't wait till episode 3.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And with that, guys, like and subscribe. Valley Sports Plug, you already know the name. We are Valley of the Suplex. To all my fellow Suplexians out there, we will see you guys soon. You will hear from us for sure. Be on the lookout for more content, guys. We're always working. We're always working here for you guys. So, yeah, one last time, guys, like and subscribe. We love y'all. Be happy. Be a friend. Tell a friend.